Welcome to Zero to Hero, the series where we teach you how to teach yourself how to play Pokemon VGC, from the basics to the complex. Today's topic is Pokemon Roles, specifically support Pokemon. This video is part 3, reviewing Pokemon Roles. As mentioned, this topic is supports. We'll jump straight into it, but be sure to watch the previous video in the iCard for more info on roles in general. Support Pokemon come in many shapes and sizes. The defining feature is that they aren't the ones doing damage, but rather enabling their allies or bogging down their opponents. Some support Pokemon are fast and frail, while others are slow and bulky. They offer a wide variety of options like speed control, damage reduction, disruption, and more. With all these options, they're incredibly beneficial to have on a team and provide a lot of value. Support is by far the most diverse role, so let's get into the different kinds. Speed control. Speed control is any form of increasing your Pokemon's speed or decreasing your opponent's speed. Speed changes are dynamic in Pokemon, meaning when Pokemon lock in their moves, the turn order can still change if the Pokemon's speed is affected before they move. This makes fast Pokemon more useful speed controllers. They can outspeed your opponents, use some form of speed control to slow them down, which allows your slower ally Pokemon to be faster than the slowed down Pokemon on the same turn. Pokemon with the ability Prankster and moves like Tailwind or Thunder Wave are incredibly useful since they can use these forms of speed control with priority, not necessarily needing to be fast themselves. Other moves like Icy Wind and Electro Web lower your opponent's speed by one stage and hit both Pokemon. Speed control is one of the most important support options to have on a team, since moving first is so important. If you can guarantee you move first, you put yourself at a significant advantage. Trick Room Setters. These Pokemon's main goal is to ensure that Trick Room goes up. Anything else is really just a bonus. Paired with strong Trick Room threats, they're powerful enablers. Many common ways of shutting down Trick Room is using moves like Fake Out or Taunt, or just by knocking out the setter. Trick Room has a -7 priority, so the user will always go last, leaving it vulnerable for the turn. Pokemon that are very bulky and can circumvent moves like Fake Out or Taunt make great Trick Room setters. The abilities Oblivious and Inner Focus give immunity to Taunt and Flinch. Farigiraf prevents priority moves like Fake Out or Prankster boosted Taunt specifically. The item Mental Herb will allow the user to shake off the Taunt condition once, and is a relatively common item seen on Trick Room setters. Indeedee also has access to Follow Me, allowing its partner to set up Trick Room, or it can set Trick Room itself, keeping your opponent guessing as to which one they should attack. Cresselia is incredibly bulky and has moves like Lunar Blessing and Ally Switch, which can improve your Trick Room sweeper's effectiveness after Trick Room is already set up. Redirection. These Pokemon have access to one of the moves Follow Me or Rage Powder. When used, these moves force all opponents to target the user. This keeps your ally Pokemon safe from attacks and allows them to get off big damage or setup. These Pokemon are incredibly useful. They're often quite bulky, so they can take hits from both enemy Pokemon. Their main weakness is that spread moves will still hit both opponents, so using Follow Me in the face of Rock Slide and Dazzling Gleam is just a waste of a turn. Weather Setters. These Pokemon set the weather to enable weather abusers. The most common set it on Switch-In with their ability. However, Prankster Pokemon with weather setting moves are also quite good. Since Pokemon switching in with an ability will change the weather first, Pokemon using a weather setting move will go next, overriding the ability setter. Prankster weather setters essentially have a stronger hold on keeping the weather up, but they need to spend their turn setting it as a trade-off. Torkoal, Pelipper, Politoed, and Tyranitar are common switch-in setters, and many Prankster Pokemon have access to Rain Dance and Sunny Day. Pokemon like Whimsicott, Murkrow, and Tornadus are just a couple examples. The main weaknesses of ability setters is they often limit team building to an extent. If you're running a Sun setter, having water Pokemon on your team might not be very beneficial, or having multiple switch-in setters with different weathers can really clash with each other. Status. Statusing opponents can have a significant impact on games. Paralysis, already mentioned, is a strong form of speed control. Burn can cripple physical attackers, and Sleep makes a Pokemon a sitting duck for 1 to 3 turns. Some Prankster Pokemon love to use Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp, like Grimmsnarl and Sableye, while Pokemon like Amoonguss, Lilligant, and Gothitelle use moves like Spore, Sleep Powder, and Hypnosis. There's little downside to statusing an opponent. The only real downside is you can't put more than one status on a single Pokemon. So if your Pokemon's entire goal is to status an opponent, and they've already done that, it might not have much to offer after. Damage mitigation. Intimidate is the strongest example of damage mitigation, since all the Pokemon needs to do is switch in, and it lowers both opponents' attack. Moves like Snarl and Will-O-Wisp, as mentioned earlier, are other strong forms of damage mitigation that lower the opponent's attacking stats. Screen support with the moves Light Screen, Reflect, and Aura Veil are also quite strong since they protect all ally Pokemon for 5 turns. 2 members of the Treasures of Ruin, Wo-Chien and Ting Lu, their abilities lower all Pokemon's attack or special attack. When paired with a Pokemon that uses the other attacking stat, This provides a significant damage decrease from the opponent without needing to use any moves or switch in, just a passive effect. Damage mitigation has little drawbacks, but the most common are abilities like Defiant and Competitive, which increase offensive stats when any stat is lowered. Also, critical hits will bypass any stat drops and screens, so if the opponent has guaranteed critical hits, it will invalidate all damage mitigation of that form. Pokemon with abilities Clear Body and Inner Focus, or the item Clear Amulet or Immunity to Burn, can also completely invalidate some forms of damage mitigation. Damage enhancers. Increasing your ally Pokemon's damage output can be more impactful than doing damage yourself. The most common form of this is the move Helping Hand, which increases your ally's damage by 50% for the turn. The abilities of certain Pokemon like Chien-Pao and Chi-Yu will lower all Pokemon's defense or special defense, allowing your Pokemon to deal more damage. Other abilities like Power Spot increase the ally's damage output by 30%. Moves like Howl, Coaching, or Decorate can increase the ally's attack stat. Moves that lower the opponent's defensive stats are more niche, but still see some use. Moves like Fake Tears and Screech lowers the opponent's special defense or defense by 2 stages. Using damage enhancers is like putting all your eggs in one basket. Using Helping Hand on an ally, going for a strong single target move, will deal a lot of damage. But if your opponent uses Protect on the Pokemon you targeted, you essentially did nothing that turn. Higher risk, higher reward type play. Disruption. This is the broadest category of support options. They primarily slow down your opponent and prevent them from carrying out their preferred game plan. Fake Out is the most common example. Flinches a Pokemon for one turn, meaning they can't move at all. Other moves like Taunt, Encore, Yawn, and Imprison can prevent your opponent from using certain moves or force them to use other moves. Moves like Wide Guard and Quick Guard can also negate spread moves or priority moves for both of your Pokemon. Most of these forms of disruption can be moved by switching out. Shadow Tag is another example of disruption that prevents your opponent's Pokemon from switching unless they're a ghost type. This is most effective when you compare it with other forms of disruption. Since the only way to remove disruption is by switching, Shadow Tag removes that option. Timing these forms of disruption is the most important aspect of using them. You could use Wide Guard, but if your opponent doesn't click a spread move, you're just wasted your turn. Or clicking Taunt while your opponent switches into a fully offensive Pokemon also isn't doing much. But when used correctly, like Wide Guarding a powerful Rock Slide, or taunting a Trick Room setter to turn they use it, is incredibly impactful. Since support Pokemon vary so much, there's a decent variety of common items. One of the most common is the Focus Sash. This allows frail, supportive Pokemon to guarantee they live one hit to get off an important status move. Covert Cloak is used to prevent flinching from Fake Out, as this is a common move used against support Pokemon since it has a higher priority than Prankster, and it can break a Focus Sash. Light Clay is sometimes seen on screen setters to increase the duration of the screens. On bulkier support Pokemon like Redirectors, Disruptors, and Trick Room setters, the classic Citrus and Fewon berries can be used to increase longevity. Mental Herb can be used mainly to give a one-time immunity to Taunt. Getting taunted when your Pokemon has a lot of support moves can really set you back. Rocky Helmet sometimes is seen on bulkier Pokemon, specifically Redirectors, which can force opponents with contact moves to take some damage when attacking. That's it for support Pokemon and Pokemon Roles. Next topic, we'll go over individual Pokemon builds or sets and how Pokemon species can fit different roles. Thanks for watching.